So Zero Skull says Brian Green is a charlatan. Thank you, Zero Skull. I appreciate that.
Might read a story or just make up a rhyme. You might play a game or commit a crime. You never know on the Zero Show. It's the Zero Show episode, Unpack, Man. Baked with whole grain cheddar. See various Pac-Man handhelds. Unfold a Superdimensional Pac-Man puppet. Play the best Pac-Man handheld. Watch Zero Schooler a Pac-Man world record high score. Hear a studio version of Pac-Man theme by Press Play on Tape. And more. I might always be wrong.
Hi, hello, welcome. It's finally here. It's the big Pac-Man show. This was originally going to be just a gameplay episode, and I contacted a Danish band called Press Play on Tape, who have a version of Pac-Man theme that they often perform live, and I asked them if I could use their song for my gameplay, and they actually sent me a previously unreleased studio recording of that song, and so I'm gonna premiere that on the show. And I decided that since this is the first band I've had on the show, I should do a bit more to make it about them and where they're from. And they're from Denmark, so I'm going to do some Denmark stuff, because there really is very little of interest that you can say about Pac-Man. And I do want guests to feel welcome here, even if they aren't really here at all. Pac-Man was first released by Namco in 1980 and was originally called Pac-Man, but the name got reworded somewhere along the way as Puck, like hockey puck. Got lost in translation, was replaced with Pac, which isn't a word. How did it happen? Nobody knows. Pac-Man is a yellow-orange circle with a triangle cut out. When his mouth is closed, he's like a perfect circle, but when his mouth is open, he's like a cheese pizza with a slice missing. He goes through a maze, which is always the same maze. Pac-Man is chased through the maze by multicolored ghost monster things with distinct AI personalities that enter from the center of the maze. And Pac-Man eats little dots, and if he eats a bigger dot, then the ghost monsters turn blue and they flash. And then Pac-Man can eat them too, but not their eyes. And their eyes return to the center of the maze, and they respawn into a ghost monster thing again. There isn't really much story to it, but the strategy in the gameplay lies somewhere between right between checkers and chess. Now I want you to understand that I did a lot of research for this episode. I watched the entire 1982 to 83 Pac-Man TV series, Pac-Mania. And I want you to never watch that show, because there is really so little story that you can build around Pac-Man. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Don't watch it. It's like if Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo was the only media that existed featuring Scooby, you would hate Scooby-Doo. And you'd hate yourself for just watching that. It's just really bad. And it's from that era of Hanna-Barbera. I can't even figure out how to make Pac-Man seem interesting in this monologue, and I have a whole episode about this subject left to go. And that's why I'm going to be talking about Denmark, because it can't be done. And they did like 2 whole seasons of this horrible, horrible, horrible Pac-Man show. Stop thinking about it. It's just bad. Don't watch it. Don't. Maybe watch 1 episode and then don't watch anymore, because every episode is the same. The show is where the term ghost monsters come from. Namco had greenlit the show and sent a creative consultant from Japan, where the creatures in the game are called monsters, to America, where the show is being produced and where the creatures are called ghosts, and so to compromise, they call them ghost monsters. So I'm going to show you some Pac-Man home games, a TV plug-and-play HDMI stick version by AtGames, a couple Bandai arcade classics, and a couple MGA Pac-Man handhelds. Also coming up, there's a secret interview with a special mystery guest, so you're going to want to stick around for that. Oh yeah. I hope you... What the hell? I hope you enjoy the show. So this is an approximation of a simplex that I built, which can be manipulated into this interesting manifold. And I made it from a cube octahedron with 360-degree hinges made out of fish line, which is made from nylon, and which allows for continuous rotation in any direction. And this cube octahedron can fold into some interesting shapes, including a pyramid, and including a tetrahedron, and it can even do an octahedron. They have an octahedron. It can also do a hexahedron. And it can also be formed into this manifold, which is a mechanical Pac-Man puppet. So it's very fun to play Pac-Man, or it can be very fun to play Pac-Man, but unless you're like waiting for the next turn or you're really into the game, it's not particularly fun to watch Pac-Man. See, it's really boring. So I'm going to insert audio dialogue over all of the Pac-Man gameplay, because it's really kind of boring. So these are 6 Pac-Man handhelds. I'm going to demonstrate gameplay while more interesting audio plays, including a story by Hans Christian Andersen, who is probably the most famous son of Denmark thanks to his more well-known works, The Little Mermaid, Thumbelina, and The Ugly Duckling. This less-known story, called In 1,000 Years, predicts air travel and the Channel, which is a tunnel that goes under the English Channel between England and France. This first game is absolutely the worst because it looks and sounds like Pac-Man without being it. When you eat a power pellet, the ghost monsters return to their corners, and they never slow down, so you only have the opportunity to get the ghost monster, which haunts the area where the pellet you ate came from, and one adjacent ghost monster, so you can only ever get 2. And they spend an inordinate amount of time in their haunts, so it is easy to eat all the dots while they're circling their bases. This one is probably good for a younger kid who you want to introduce to vintage games. It has 4 Namco classics in terrible emulation, and 16 game-like things based around Stranger Things. Really, you'll probably just leave it on the shelf as a memento to Stranger Things. This one is the most difficult, and some would say it's the worst, but it is very true to what Pac-Man should be. This particular copy is missing the battery cover. This one is a non-electric marble game that is really a minor revision of Tommy's Marble Catch, with a figure of Pac-Man in place of the marble catcher. You simply drop the marble from the top and try to catch it in Pac-Man's mouth. This particular copy is broken. The joystick won't go back or up, but it's essentially the most fun because it doesn't try to copy Pac-Man from the arcade, but presents a unique variation for the handheld gamer. This one has a joystick, and I will later get a world record on a keychain version of this same game. Then there's the Arcade Classics #1. The black and white version has a wonky 8-way joystick that makes it easy to accidentally go one way, like down, when you mean to go left or right. You can also stop Pac-Man in this one almost at will, which can be done to your advantage or detriment. Because of the 8-way control, this one is quite difficult, but it does a great job of recreating the look and feel of a Pac-Man arcade on an LCD display. And then there's this last one. Yes, this one. This one is identical to the last one, that one, except this one has a backlit LED display, and the joystick has a blocking plate that limits it to 4 directions, so you are unlikely to accidentally misdirect Pac-Man. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at these games.
You got the moves, you call all the shots, cheat all the ghosts and eat all the dots.
In 1,000 Years, by Hans Christian Andersen. First published 1852. Read by Alex Spires. Yes, in 1,000 years people will fly on the wings of steam through the air over the ocean. The young inhabitants of America will become visitors of old Europe. They will come over to see the monuments in the great cities, which will then be in ruins, just as we in our time make pilgrimages to the tottering splendors of southern Asia. In 1,000 years they will come. The Thames, the Danube, and the Rhine still roll their course. Mont Blanc stands firm with its snow-capped summit, and the northern lights gleam over the lands of the north. But generation after generation has become dust. Whole rows of the mighty of the moment are forgotten, like those who already slumber under the hill on which the rich trader, whose ground it is, has built a bench on which he can sit and look out across his waving cornfields. To Europe! Cry the young sons of America, to the land of our ancestors, the glorious land of monuments and fancy, to Europe! The ship of the air comes. It is crowded with passengers, for the transit is quicker than by sea. The electromagnetic wire under the ocean has already telegraphed the number of the aerial caravan. Europe is in sight. It is the coast of Ireland that they see, but the passengers are still asleep. They will not be called till they are exactly over England. There they will first step on European shore, in the land of Shakespeare, as the educated call it, in the land of politics, the land of machines, as it is called by others. Here they stay a whole day. That is all the time the busy race can devote to the whole of England and Scotland. Then the journey is continued, through the tunnel under the English Channel, to France, the land of Charlemagne and Napoleon. Moliere's name. The learned men talk of the classic school of remote antiquity. There is rejoicing and shouting for the names of heroes, poets, and men of science, whom our time does not know, but who will be born after our time in Paris, the center of Europe, and elsewhere. The air steamboat flies over the country whence Columbus went forth, where Cortes was born, and where Calderon sang dramas in sounding verse. Beautiful dark-eyed women live still in the blooming valleys, and the oldest songs speak of the Cid and the Alhambra. Then, through the air, over the sea, to Italy, where once lay old everlasting Rome. It has vanished. The Campagna lies desert. A single ruined wall is shown as the remains of St. Peter's, but there is a doubt if this ruin be genuine. Next to Greece, to sleep a night in the Grand Hotel at the top of Mount Olympus, to say that they have been there. And the journey is continued to the Bosphorus, to rest there a few hours, to see the place where Byzantium lay, and where the legend tells that the harems stood in the time of the Turks. Poor fishermen are now spreading their nets. Over the remains of mighty cities on the broad Danube, cities which we in our time know not, the travellers pass, but here and there, on the rich sites of those that time shall bring forth, the caravan sometimes descends and departs thence again. Down below lies Germany, that was once covered with a close net of railways and canals, the region where Luther spoke, where Goethe sang.
You got the moves, you call all the shots, cheat all the ghosts and eat all the dots.
And Mozart once held the scepter of harmony. Great names shine there in science and in art, names that are unknown to us. One day devoted to seeing Germany, and one for the north, the country of Ørsted and Linnaeus, And for Norway, the land of the old heroes and the young Normans, Iceland is visited on the journey home. The geysers burn no more. Hekla is an extinct volcano, but the rocky island is still fixed in the midst of the foaming sea, a continual monument of legend and poetry. There really is a great deal to be seen in Europe, says the young American, and we have seen it in a week, according to the directions of the great traveler, and here he mentions the name of one of his contemporaries in his celebrated work, How to See All Europe in a Week. A woman in Cajame, Mexico, found photos on her husband's phone of him having sex with a younger, slimmer woman. She got a kitchen knife, confronted her husband with the photos, and proceeded to stab him repeatedly in the arms and legs. The husband eventually disarmed his wife, explaining to her that these were photos of her from years ago when they were dating. The world as you experience it is a hallucination. Your standard observation is as you see it and not as it is. You have no idea if something is approaching from behind you, but you accept that what you have passed is behind you. The road on which you walk, that is the pathway of your life that calluses and blisters your soul. That is the way that you are going, and that inexorably leads to your own death, is the only road you can take, and it is one way to a dead end, and it ends when you do.
You got the moves to call all the shots, eat all the ghosts and eat all the dots.
The road you walk, no matter the location, is the most dangerous road you know, for it is on this road, and as this road, that you will die. And the road itself, which is your life, is that which will kill you. So about the end of February 2021, a cat hijacked a plane. A member of the Qatari kitty cat crime mob, described by witnesses as feral, aggressive, and angry, apparently snuck aboard a Tarco Airlines 737 while it was parked in a hangar overnight for cleaning, or it had boarded during a standard pre-flight engineering check and hid somewhere in the cockpit.
You got the moves to call all the shots, eat all the ghosts and eat all the dots.
About 30 minutes into the flight, a reportedly clawful and positively formidable incident arose when the finicky feline came out of hiding and attacked members of the cockpit crew with tooth and claw, hissing and scratching and biting, apparently going directly after the captain, and forced the plane back to its port of origin because cats are like that. The final fate of the feline is unknown. So in the middle 1600s, around the time that Isaac Newton was inventing calculus and discovering the laws of gravitation, a Danish scientist called Christian Huygens invented a clock that could keep perfect time on a boat and off a boat, which is really important and probably uninteresting to most of the people who are listening to this. So I'll just tell you about how the man thought.
You got the moves to call all the shots, eat all the ghosts and eat all the dots.
Christian Huygens loved to smoke his pipe, and he loved to think and talk. And he had a way about him where he would go visit a friend and be having a discussion with them and then go to light his pipe. He would light a match, and then he would start talking, and talk, and the match would burn down to his fingers, and he'd put it out. Then he'd light a fresh match and go to light his pipe, and then talk until the match burned down to his fingers, and go out and he'd have to light a new one. Then he'd go to light his pipe, and then he'd talk. And this would go on and on and on. And apparently you could tell where Christian Huygens had been because you could literally follow trails of matches going from store to store and house to house and down the street and around people's houses. Figure eights around tables, chairs. And then finally, when he was done thinking and talking, he would smoke his pipe. And then he'd have another idea. So you may be wondering, well, I live in the USA or Italy or something, and you might say, what's so special about Denmark to me? What has Denmark done for me in my life, for the structure of my country, for the infrastructure and building of new architectural styles? What has Denmark done for engineering and mathematics and science and robotics? What has Denmark done for the future of humankind? And if you're one of 20% of the planet, about 1 billion people, you grew up with, or have since you grew up, become indoctrinated into playing with Legos, which come from Denmark. Legos. So this here is a band of light. It's reflecting from an object over here on the shelf. I noticed it yesterday, and you can see my hand going in front of it, and then a reflection of my hand, and another, and you can see multiple projections of my hand through it. And it took me a little while to figure out what was casting it, and it's actually this Pac-Man game. It's facing the window and pointing right there, causing that thing to appear. And, causing that thing to appear. And I can wave my hand in front of it and make fun reflections out of it and have fun shadow puppet play. And then you can see there's another one right next to it, but it isn't caused by what's right next to it. That's actually reflecting off of these Game Boy games up here. And so I wave my hand in front of that up here, and I get a shadow. And it actually produces two shadows of my hands. Here are both of my hands together, and you see it presents two images of. And you can see it really is just reflecting. There's the shadow on the machine, and there's the reflection inside the machine. And then inside there are there's a reflector at the back, and then there are two filters between that. So it's got a reflection off the screen, it's got a reflection between the filters, it's got a reflection off the screen and the filter, reflection off the screen and the second filter, reflection off the screen and the reflector, and then reflections coming back out, the reflection between the filter and the between the reflector and the first filter, the reflector and the second filter, and between the reflector and the screen, and all in between. That's it. It's that. And I just love these things. I've got my 1997 MGA Pac-Man keychain game. Let's play this thing. Presenting Søren Trotner Madsen, Theo Engel Nielsen, Martin Koch, Jesper Holm Olsen, Andre Tischer Poulsen, and Uffe Fries Lichtenberg. Press play on tape.
Ghosts and eat all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Cheat all the ghosts and eat all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Cheat all the ghosts and eat all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Cheat all the ghosts and eat all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Cheat all the ghosts and eat all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Cheat all the ghosts and throw all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Cheat all the ghosts and eat all the ducks. You got the moves, you call all the shots. Pac-Man, 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 Pac-Man.
Oh. 98,900 points. I'm going to stop there. Whew. That's the world record at this game. And if anybody wants to try to get to 99,900, go for it. Alas! Yorick! I do am Horatio. Hey, it's time for my interview with a special mystery guest. Hello, Pac-Man.
Beep, beep, boop, beep, beep, beep.
So, Pac-Man, I want to talk to you about these DMT-induced tunnel space experiences you have, because I've actually been doing some research into that.
Oh, okay. What kind of research? Taking drugs?
No, just like looking into what other people say and comparing their described experiences against each other. And I know you have these vivid experiences of like going through these tunnels and encountering these beings, these ghost monster things, and I just wonder if you think they're real.
I don't know if real's the right word. The question is, we look at consciousness and we look at like an intelligent entity as being in a physical carbon-based form that's in front of you that you can shake hands with or give a hug to.
Right.
When you experience what happens when you take dimethyltryptamine, you throw all that out the window because the environment itself is not. It's not defined. It's fluid, meaning that it's changing constantly. But yet it seems far more vivid than this life right now. And there are these things that are there. And they communicate with you. And they seem to be really communicating with you. And they seem to also know you and be able to see right through. But they don't seem to be you. They seem to be something else.
Right.
That's all we know.
Right, but what do you think of them?
But that's what I think. That's all we know. You can't, like you could say that's a well of souls, that's what happens when you die, that's the afterlife, that's a parallel dimension, these are aliens, that's how they can communicate with us, they're non-physical life forms that exist in these realms of light. We don't know. You're just guessing, right?
Well, there are some people who believe that these creatures are like actually higher dimensional beings that cannot occur in the third dimension and can only interface with you in that lower dimensional state through DMT.
Maybe. But that's all you could ever say. It's really just a maybe. You know, when people say, I know what that is, I am communicating with the afterlife, or I know what that is, these are the real aliens. This is what happens when you're sleeping and people have these alien abduction experiences. What they really are having is an endogenous DMT dump because your brain does produce DMT.
Really?
But new research is showing that it's not just the brain that produces DMT, that they used to think it was the pineal gland, but now they think literally the whole brain is producing it, and the liver, and the lungs, so it's part of the human body. It's something that the human body makes. They've been able to isolate it in specific organs, but they think this really bizarre, super potent psychedelic compound is everywhere, and they also think it's responsible for dreaming. They think there's an amount of it that comes out while you're sleeping, while you're in heavy REM sleep. This is speculative. But the thing is, there's parallels, right? One of the parallels to the psychedelic states and dreams is that they're very difficult to recall. You wake up and it's the most vivid. You come out of the experience, right? It's the most vivid thing that you've ever experienced in your life, and then moments later, you're like, I don't remember what happened. It's just like a dream.
Well, that's it for the special Pac-Man episode. Thanks to Press Play on Tape for letting me use their music. Thanks to Pac-Man for being so candid in that interview. And thank you for sticking around and watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Have fun.
So Zero Skull says Brian Green is a charlatan. Thank you, Zero Skull. I appreciate that.
My read a story which is made up around you, my